Welcome to the Catalyst Life Coaching Podcast with John Kim and Noelle Cordeaux. The next Catalyst Coaching Intensive begins September 10th. If you're inspired to begin your own coaching practice or just want to learn a little bit more about what it's all about, visit shift.us, shft.us, for more information. Your adventure awaits.
Hey guys, what's up? I am really excited about this episode because we're going to talk about the science behind crazy, and by crazy I mean romantic relationships.
Correct.
Yes, and
Correct.
Noelle, take the wheel. So Noelle basically is the science behind everything I say. Without her, I'm basically just a mumbling idiot. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thanks to all of our listeners. This is the Catalyst Life Coaching Podcast. I am Noelle Cordeaux, and obviously John is John Kim, the angry therapist. And today what we're going to get into is the brain chemistry and a lot of the biological drives that are behind feelings of romantic love.
Yeah, and I got to say, this is really interesting, and I think this is going to be helpful for so many because, you know, when feelings come in, when we get the feels, it's very easy for others and ourselves to label ourselves as crazy.
As crazy, yes, that, and to assume that like something earth-shattering must be happening in your life that
Right.
you feel so completely spun out about, you know, this random person that has like, you know.
Yeah, so pulling the curtain back and showing what is really going on, I think is going to be so helpful. So, all right,
Absolutely.
here we go. Let's talk about it.
Dive in. So I guess up front, it's important to note that a lot of what we're going to share with you is based on research and work by an anthropologist named Helen Fisher. She sought to understand these human drives and emotions and has built a career out of compiling all of this fantastic research. So it's cool stuff. So I guess really let's start with what romantic love is. And let's break it down. What do you think of romantic love?
Oh man, I didn't want you to point the gun at me first because I
Yeah.
need to think about that.
All right.
What is okay? So what is Noelle's definition of romantic love?
Well, you know, okay, so, you know, like analytical Virgo over here, I'll be very textbook about it. Like romantic love is what I would define as new relationship energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's that feeling of when you meet someone new and you get all fucked up.
Yeah. Okay. Are you finished? Do you want me or
No,
okay.
no. You know, what's romantic love to you?
I'm definitely going to go the other way. I don't have a textbook answer. I never do. So I'm just going to say, oh my gosh, romantic love is it's desire, it's passion, it's the home, seeing home in someone's eyes. It's, you know, the head on your chest. I don't know, as a man, I don't know if it matters, but like for me, you know, what is that called? Snuggling or spooning and all that stuff. It's sexual. It's little notes left, you know, around. It's texting. It's all of that. It's colliding with someone and feeling drawn to them. And man, there's a little bit of an obsession part where you can't stop thinking about them too.
There is an obsession part, and we're gonna absolutely get into that. So from a neurobiological perspective, there's a series of things that human beings experience when they fall in romantic love. Let me run through them, and you can tell me if any of this sounds familiar. Focused attention, where you just like can't be without each other. Magnification, where you like just this person is like, you know, larger than life.
Right.
Intrusive thinking, where you can't get somebody out of your head. Emotional exhilaration, which is just like intense energy. It's hard to sleep, where you feel this like torrent of emotion, where you're shy, you're trembling, you're sweating. Mood swings, yearning for union with this person, looking for clues, like replaying songs over and over again, looking for lyrics that remind you of your person. Changing your priorities, like keeping your schedule open just in case this person like might call.
Right.
Feeling the feelings of somebody else. You're happy when they're happy. You're sad when they're sad.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you know what? As you're reading this list down, one can argue this is also called codependency.
yeah, right.
Enmeshment, right?
Yeah, but codependency and enmeshment has its roots in fucking romantic love. I
Mm.
mean, so to a large extent, when like all of this stuff that we're talking about today fades over time. This is the early stages, and in a codependent relationship, the chemical dynamics that are produced keep people in this unhealthy pattern. It's really fucking hard to get shit done in life when you're spun like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it happens to everyone, and we are kind of wired for this to happen to us.
We're 100% wired for this to happen to us, and we're wired for it to happen to us so that our species continues.
Right.
And, to me, like, it's one of the most delicious aspects of life, right? It's like when you get to have these feelings and emotions and it hits you like a ton of bricks, it might be inconvenient as hell, but like, cool. You get to experience this. You get to experience this torrent of emotions. And, you were all going to die anyway, so you might as well, get a taste of the swirl if you can.
Yeah, I think a big part of life is I mean, if you took romantic love out of your life, what's left? I mean,
I
besides
know.
besides eating and building your empire, and I get the I get also the ability to be creative every day and all that is good. But if you took romantic love out of the picture, it's almost like one of the legs of the table. I think that life would be very wobbly.
Absolutely. And you really can't discount the fact that, yeah, we're humans and we experience this elevated consciousness, but ultimately we're animals
Yeah.
and we're experiencing the brain chemicals necessary for our biological drive to kick in. Like we're not the only animals that experience this kind of stuff, like monkeys, foxes, penguins,
Yeah.
like
Do you think monkeys, foxes, and penguins, they don't have society and shoulds, and they don't beat themselves up if a relationship doesn't go well. They don't have self betterment books. So I wonder, do you think that if this is how we're wired, do you think that we're actually hard on ourselves because of what we think love should look like or what we
I
read
mean,
about?
I'm going to posit that we can't really examine the interior lives of penguins because we just don't know, but they're very cute and they pair bond for life and they follow each other fucking around,
Sure, yeah, yeah, absolutely,
Like my little sister
absolutely.
calls her husband her penguin because he like follows her around the apartment day in and day out. So it's like, I don't know what those little guys are feeling.
Sure, that's true. Right.
Um, I think that they probably do experience the same biological drives. I think where humans get tripped up is that, we don't come with instruction books. And so all of this stuff that we break down when we talk about the brain chemicals behind our emotions, we're subject to them. We don't analyze them and we assign meaning to them based on magic or, whatever stories we've been raised with
Hmm.
about society and love and how we're supposed to be, and you fall in love and there's the prince and the princess, and then there's this concept of happily ever after
Right.
follows this crazy romantic feeling. And while that's great, what we're actually experiencing is like a roll of dopamine, and it'll probably last for about 4 years. Good luck, everyone.
Mm. And
We'll
and
get into that, but
why? Yeah, let's get into that. Why 4 years?
so, across the board, when we're looking at all different kinds of animals and biological responses and sexual response, everything that happens to us from a neurobiological perspective is designed so that whatever animal it is can produce and raise healthy offspring. Baby elephants and giraffes can get up and walk right away.
Mm.
Humans can't.
Right.
It takes about 4 years for a tiny human to become relatively self sufficient. And so, 4 years is the traditional state of human pair bonding. That is the most common time frame that people are married. Most divorces occur after 4 years. Humans
Hmm.
are notoriously serially monogamous. And it seems like they go through these 4 year relationships and they have another baby or they separate. And I know this is like pretty like broad, but
Right.
when you look at the trends worldwide, those are the trends. And you'll notice that siblings are often 4 years apart because you get into a relationship, you have a baby, and then like you either split up or have another baby.
Right. I wonder if this is why many people say 3 years is kind of the make or break.
It could be,
Yeah.
and that stuff has like really grounded roots. We know that there are a lot of like different things that contribute to it. So when I was doing the research for this podcast, I was really floored that from an anthropological perspective, the more deeply intense and verbal a relationship is between two people, the more you physically grow and light up the part of your brain that contributes to pair bonding. So if you have a really deep, close emotional relationship, you're more likely to extend your chances of pair bonding beyond 4 years.
Mm. And so, do you think that bond is just is it nature or nurture? Is it something that is, is the connection from just the energy and dynamic and the chemistry, or is it something that is built?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think it's both. I think the the chemistry and the inclination has to be there. There are definitely like other factors like durable social resources and, liking somebody and the way society is set up and the way families are set up and, standards and expectations. Like I hear a lot of people say like, I'd like to leave my relationship. I'd like to be in a new relationship. I'd like to experience a different human, but I've made a commitment. So
Hmm.
our social standards often keep us in place.
Right. Well, and then also there is our story. So the other piece of this is everything that you've been through, all the hot stoves that have burned you, the fears that happen. A lot of times people sabotage. A lot of times people are afraid. And then there's also the I don't know if I'm good enough or if I deserve this.
Yeah, I mean that comes into play like so much, and I
Yeah.
think one of the traps that people get into is that they might ignore intuition or ignore biological urges or take their personal story or their personal narrative and let that trump their true intuition or true chemical response because the way our brains and bodies are designed is to go out there in the world and find people who are good genetic matches for us on psychosocial and emotional levels. And like your body doesn't lie, like your intuition doesn't lie,
Right.
so but your mind does.
Yeah.
Your mind sure does. Your
Hmm.
mind says, like, oh, well, I've always wanted to be with somebody that's, 5'2", left-handed, green-eyed,
Right.
engineer. And if that person doesn't show up in front of you, you might miss it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Man, I gotta say, me being a therapist and helping others with their relationships and dissecting them, and talking about all the things that I talk about, like non-negotiables and stuff, that all that stuff has only made me confused, more and more confused when it comes to me and my personal life, because there's a piece that is just analyzing and trying to process, trying to figure out how much of it is you and your story and how much of it is them, and sometimes it's almost like I am so heavy with that these days. I want to just rip off that suit and I just want to close my eyes and feel it. And if it's there, if it's there, and if it's not, it's not.
I mean, that's honestly like the smartest fucking thing you can do.
Like just like an animal, just like what
Yeah.
animals do.
I mean, you have to get into your biological body, and like,
Yeah.
all right, so like, let's talk about sex. Like, like sex is so primal and so natural. And
Right.
if you take away all of the psychodynamics, everyone would be having the best sex of their lives, but they're not. They're thinking about their bodies. They're
Right.
thinking about the
Of
lighting.
course.
They're thinking about, what is this person thinking of me, their experience level,
Yeah.
whatever.
How do I please them and
Yeah.
techniques and sizes and shapes and all that stuff.
Yeah, like it all plays in our conscious, evaluative thinking mind really gets in the way when it comes to this stuff.
So I guess the next question is, what do we do? how do we start loving, going on to the journey of romantic love in a more pure, honest way? I don't know what the word would be. Something that is less confusing, maybe.
Oh, I don't think we're going to get to less confusing anytime soon. But
Oh, that's discouraging.
I am sorry. It's like I think on one level it's important to understand, and this goes for all things, whether we're talking about love or depression or anxiety, is to understand that like feelings aren't facts. And when you're experiencing a feeling or an emotion, it is coming oftentimes from some sort of chemical reaction in your brain. So you have to understand like the drivers of it. So here's a great example. With romantic love, the brain chemical that goes completely bonkers for 12 to 18 months is dopamine.
Right.
That's why that first year when you meet someone or those first months or weeks is like insane, out of body, out of control is because
I didn't know it was 12 months. That's actually a long time. That's a
12 to
great
18
shot.
months. Yeah, right? And then, you fucking get pregnant and you raise the kid for a year and then your 4 years is up. It's awesome.
Right.
So no, but like so your brain front loads dopamine. That's the same thing that ecstasy does. So like literally it's a fucking addictive drug and your body starts rolling. It's like you get tingles. You get that's dopamine. That's what
Right.
fucking dopamine feels like. Your serotonin levels go down. Serotonin is your mood regulator. Serotonin is your calm functioning, like let's chill this body out.
Your stabilizer.
Yeah, exactly. And so your dopamine goes up, your serotonin goes down, your cortisol goes down, and all of a sudden that means that you're exposing yourself to more risk-taking behaviors. So
Right.
that's when you have these ideas like, yeah, sure, I'll go for a motorcycle ride. I'll jump off a cliff. Like, I'll follow you off a cliff. That sounds great. Like, so you have to be aware that, like, as you're experiencing these dopamine rolls, it feels great. And you might be inclined to say, this is obviously magic. But
I just want to say real quick, if you can stand up for penguins, I'm going to have to stand up for motorcycles.
okay.
Motorcycle rides are okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I love you so much. I'm never getting on your motorcycle ever.
Well, we can't both be on the motorcycle because if something happens, who's gonna make shift, dominate wellness and everything that we all the dreams that we have. One of us has to be alive at all times. So yeah, that's the only reason why I don't want you on my motorcycle, because we can't both go down.
That's fine. That's totally fine.
Because or I would buy a sidecar and you would be in it with the scarf and the goggles.
No, I don't want to do that either.
Okay. All right. So you'll be in the Uber, I'll be on the motorcycle. Okay, moving on.
That works. That works. So, like understand your biological urges and like know what they're about and
Right.
try to like approach it with some semblance of awareness, I guess would be my best. And know yourself, like know your patterns. Like if you're a serial monogamist, like be aware of that. Like it's hardwired in you.
Right.
If you are feeling a really strong drive towards someone, okay, well, I'm probably experiencing that shit because this person might be a good genetic match for me. Am I interested in having kids? Yes or no? Should I be paying attention to this? So there's a lot kind of mixed up in it.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I have no idea what I would say tomorrow or next week, but right now at this point, like if I was just to think about where I'm at in my life and all the experiences I've had, I've kind of come full circle where it's like, yes, there's healthy and there's unhealthy. I mean, there's even love addiction and there's of course patterns and all that, but I think sometimes we have to, shake it, or like just kind of start with the blank canvas. Be a student to love. Be very curious, and stop putting so much weight on what you think is healthy and unhealthy. Because if you think that you are loving in a way that is unhealthy, then there's judgment behind that, and then you're going to feel like, oh, I haven't grown, or I'm defective, and all these things. And I just feel like sometimes we should just go with what we feel, and explore that and see how how that makes us feel, if we like that or not, and without judging ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And so, Julie, one of our team members, sent me an article to pitch for this week. I think it was it was for some sort of women's publication,
Mm-hmm.
and the topic was, why do women self sabotage in relationships? And this can go for men too. So why do people self sabotage in relationships?
Mm-hmm.
And the premise kind of pissed me off because I was like, when we're talking about self sabotaging in a relationship, we're making the assumption that who's ever in the position of self sabotaging has to be performative, that attaining a mate is the end goal, and that I have to modify my behavior, myself, my soul, in order to get and or maintain this person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has ties to everything that we talk about with authenticity. We have put so much emphasis in society on keeping and maintaining almost a partner out of status or on paper, that we've stopped being ourselves. We've
Yeah.
stopped actually analyzing like what the fuck makes a day in and day out good with someone, and is that working for me, versus like, how do I need to behave in order to look, speak, act, do to keep this other person fucking happy, so I have this box to check off and like.
Right. You know, and it's funny because I got that same thing from Julie too, except I fell for the trap, and I was like, "Oh, I'll answer this," and I answered it.
Oh, really? What did you
I,
answer?
I like that you questioned it. I like that you were like, "Hey, you know what? I don't even like this question.
Yeah.
It opens a can of worms and all this." I I think the other factor is your definition or our definition of love changes depending on where we're at in our lives. So, like in my 30s or early 30s, I was all about the picket fence. I was all, I thought love meant, the wife, the kids, the matching, whatever BMWs in the driveway, whatever. And my definition of love today is very different. I'm now a lot more open to um, just new definitions and what love could look like. And before my definition was very firm. Like the lines were very straight.
I know. And how fucked up is that? Like, think about it. So I used to have that same definition of love, like, oh, I should, grow up, get married in my early 20s, remain married to that one person for the rest of my life, like be a mother.
Hmm.
You're 44, I'm 37. I do not think that way anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's a whole big fucking world out there, and life is pretty huge and delicious. And if I had maintained that I guess, vision of life that I had in my 20s, my life would have been so small.
Yeah, but here's the thing. But if if you are, I don't know, in your 20s or 30s and you still have that definition, that's not wrong. I mean, that's where you're at and that's what that's what you're going toward. I think it changes as we change. So whether it's
Yeah.
age or life turbulence or, whatever it is that we go through, or I think our definitions of love, they're always changing.
And I think that that's natural and honest and realistic, except that people aren't willing to have those honest conversations with their partners as they come up. They feel like they have to continually stuff themselves
Yeah.
into boxes. And I think that's what keeps us in business as relationship coaches.
Mm. Absolutely. Yeah,
Right?
we will never be out of business as far as with
We will
relationships go.
never be out of
Yeah.
business. I have a quote for you that I think is really interesting.
Mhm.
It's that, when you lay out all of the tenets of romantic love, as we've been talking about with these biological urges and chemicals, it's not that romantic love is an emotion, because we tend to think of it as an emotion. What it actually is a hardwired motivation system.
Mm. That's not that romantic or sexy, but okay.
No, no. And the whole point of it is to enable a suitor to build and maintain an intimate relationship with a preferred mating partner.
Right.
So, like, I hate to blow up the fairy tale, but when you guys are all out there with these dopamine rolls thinking like, my world is crashing because I've experienced this incredible crushing love, it's actually an internal motivation system that's trying to get you to procreate.
Mm. That's really interesting.
It is.
Yeah. So what would you say? let's give people, I don't know, a theme. Let's give them some direction. Let's give them a rudder, a way to go. What do you think with love and dating and romantic love? What are like, I don't know, 3 or 4 things that we can pull from this conversation and remind them of?
Oh, I don't fucking know. Like, I mean, I think that's it. It's like I'm subject to it just as you are.
Yeah.
Like, like what, like,
Well, then
good luck ever.
maybe it's that it's okay to not know, because a lot of people, if they feel like they don't know, they feel that they're defective or they're unlovable or they don't know how to love or all those things.
I think you're right. I mean, I think that's the overarching message. I think is that this stuff is really complex and confusing.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're all out there striving for and looking for and hoping for. And, like going back to feelings aren't facts, like if you're, so here's another really cool fun fact. So like the expression brokenhearted,
Mm-hmm.
that's a legit chemical state. Just as when you fall in love with someone, your dopamine goes through the roof. When a relationship ends or you experience unrequited love, it actually induces a mild clinical depression.
Right.
So like those feelings are fucking real, and
Yeah.
it's not like something that's wrong with you. It's you're experiencing your given biological urges in a very physical way, and it's part of your humanity. And there's something really cool and primal and natural and about that, and being connected to the earth and all others, I guess.
Do you believe that a heart being broken, or the stretching of a heart, or the pain and hurt you get from romantic love and the love that not working out, do you think that only makes us have the ability to grow to love harder or love more, or no?
Well,
Is it a muscle
I'll
in that
no.
sense?
I'll give you the straight up clinical answer. It lasts from 24 months to 4 years, depending on the verbal intensity of the relationship. So the more verbally intense your relationship was, the longer your heartbreak will last. And if it was more of a surface thing, you might get over it pretty quickly, but it can extend for, 12 to 24 months is like standard. So, and that's a long time. People are back out there, they're dating, but they're
Yeah.
kind of like rolling with a little bit of a handicap.
Sure.
The good news is that bodies and brains do naturally heal, and your chemicals will restabilize. So just like, I tell all my divorce recovery folks, like, give yourself the 2 to 4 years. Like, it's okay if you meet somebody in the meantime and you really like them and you experience all sorts of awesome, cool things. But like, know that our brains take that much time.
Yeah. After my divorce, I didn't date anyone for years, a long time.
That was probably really smart.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's sometimes it has to be a choice, because when you're out of a relationship, especially if that's what you're used to, the first thing you're going to want to do is get into another one very fast.
Oh, dude, I totally dated like it was a combat sport and I was a fucking psychopath.
Right, exactly. And of course, I don't want to judge that, but there are consequences to that.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are. Everybody in my net life was pretty nervous about what I was up to for a while.
So, but here's the thing, you guys know yourselves. Hopefully you've looked back in your life and your relationships and the way you love, and you got to define what worked for you. You got to define what is healthy for you. And I think you should always be open. This is a choice. I still believe in magic. I mean, I know we're talking about the science behind romantic love, but I still believe in magic. I still believe in the unexplainable.
Yeah, I do too. It's like, it's helpful to break it down from a chemical perspective because that's how I ground myself in reality.
Right.
And it's like, it's always interesting to understand how our brains and bodies work, even if we don't know what's driving us.
Yeah. So here's the end message, guys. And I'm actually, I love this message because I think that it's something we haven't heard in a long time and we need to hear. It's okay to not know about love. It's okay to not have answers. It's okay if it's not a progression, but it's different.
Yes,
All of
I
it.
agree. All of it. There
'Cause
are no rules.
there are no rules, and it's so complicated, and everyone has their own story. And if you tie in all that and your fears and your insecurities and all that, it's just a big, just a yarn that is it's too hard to entangle.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I guess too is like, why do you even have to untangle it? Like, just like
Right.
cut the piece of yarn and move on, and
Yeah.
just like
Sure.
cut the tangle.
Absolutely. Toss the ball of yarn.
Hmm. Get rid of it.
Right. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. And if you enjoy this dialogue, Noelle and I create it almost every week, and we talk about not only love, but we talk about everything under the umbrella of life coaching um, for life coaches, but also you don't have to be a life coach to get something out of our podcast.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you really like what we have to talk about, you might like to become one of our coaches. John and I train coaches to work on our platform for our awesome company, and you know where to find us. So questions, comments.
What if they don't know where to find us? Where did they go?
Oh, well, you should go to shift.us. Shift.us is the website, SHFT, and you can, all calls and emails go directly to me, so I'm always happy to hop on the phone with somebody. And I do meet people from the podcast, people who recognize my voice or who love positive psychology, give me a call and just want to shoot the shit, and those are the best. So please don't hesitate.
Yes, thank you. And I'm not going to say love hard today, guys. I'm going to say love open.
Yeah, love open.
Okay, be well.
Thanks for listening to the Catalyst Life Coaching Podcast presented by Shift. If you'd like to learn more about what you've heard on today's show, head to shift.us. That's SHFT.us for more information. Feel free to rate us, review us, and tell a friend.